almost ready, folks. Almost ready. Sup Ross on Twitch. Sup Lappily. Good to see you. One second. All right. All right, I think I'm ready. I think I'm here. What's going on, everybody? How is everyone doing today? I've got your daily tech news. Okay, I've got my coffee. Cheers. I'm ready to go. Welcome in to all the viewers, whatever time of day it is in your part of the world. I hope you're doing well. And I appreciate all the viewers, whether now or later in the recorded version. You guys are awesome. Today is June 2nd. I'm going to be your host for the day. Spiro the Master Programmer, all one word, lowercase with a big P for obvious reasons. And I'm going to cover all the daily tech news that's relevant to all the stuff I complain about, that confirms my biases and makes my points unassailably true. That's all this stream is about. It's just to make myself feel better. It's got nothing to do with you guys. Bunch of suckers. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into the news. All right. Switch over here. Now, you might notice the setup is a little bit different, and there is a reason for that. There is a reason why I have changed the setup a little bit. And if you look beneath my right here, imagine a square. If you look right down here, below Mario bashing React, and my little logo that is now consistent logo across all my streams. It represents, only a few people know what this means. Right below that, there's a counter. Episodes since last non-secure cloud bucket. What's up, Prosium? Good to see you on Twitch. What's up, Ghost Magic? Good to see you. And you can see that the counter is set to 1. That's the number of episodes that are currently active this episode since the last non-secure cloud bucket that we covered in our Daily Tech News stream. However, on this day, June 2nd, we have another bucket exploit. That's right. A threat actor known as Hazy Hawk has hijacked abandoned cloud resources of high-profile organizations. I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see. This includes... Oh, what's this? What's this? Amazon S3 buckets and Microsoft Azure endpoints. That means, ladies and gentlemen, bros, I'm going to take a sip of coffee, and then guess what we're going to do to that counter? What are we going to do to the counter? Yeah, it's actually really smart. That's right, Ross. It is actually really smart. What shall we do with this counter? What do you think we should do, guys? Watch the counter. It says 1. Now it's going to say 0. Yeah. Number of episodes since the last set of non-secure buckets. So what it does is it leverages misconfigurations in the DNS records. And then when it hijacks particular URLs, it then redirects users to scams and other malware. Unfortunately, it does not stop there. Other resources that have been taken by this threat actor include Akamai, Bunny CDN, Cloudflare CDN, GitHub, and Netlify. Wait, I heard something. I heard something from one of my viewers. I think maybe I heard a sneeze. Did one of you sneeze out there? I think I heard a sneeze. It could be a virus. Yeah, somebody might be catching a bad virus. We better call up the CDC and make sure they're on top of it. Right? We can't let it go unchecked, right? Oh, but wait. The same threat actor controlled several subdomains associated with the US CDC in February 2025. Now, before you take a breath and go, oh man, I'm so glad this story's over, it's not. It's not over. Government agencies across the globe, prominent universities, and international corporations such as Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst & Young have been victimized by the same threat actor since at least December 2023. Configurations and misconfigurations seem to be one of the most common ways that these kinds of threat actors gain access to these cloud-based systems. And I would argue that it should be one of the most fundamental things that people should know how to do when they're doing systems administration, setting up infrastructure. If you're a programmer, you should also have some sensibility around this, some basic level knowledge of how to secure these things. It seems like we don't, because as the counter beneath me proves, we constantly see misconfigured cloud services, particularly around S3 buckets and Azure endpoints. Google Cloud Services is another one. And these kinds of things open the door to, one more time, second, third, fourth order effects. And we see it way too often. If more people actually knew fundamentals of how to lock these things down, I don't think I'd be reading as many of these news articles as I do on an almost daily basis. It's absolutely mind-blowing in some ways how often I see this. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. Let me pull up the next article here. I'll go like this. Let me get rid of the stupid ad here. All right, here we go. South Asian ministries hit by Sidewinder APT using old Office flaws and custom malware. Yeah, you read that right. You read that right. Sidewinder, typically you might think of a particular, let's say, tool that the military uses that has the name Sidewinder. This particular tool is landing in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Yeah. So it'll use spear phishing emails that are geographically restricted to those locations to send malicious content. Some of the targets, well, I think it's down here. Bangladesh's Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, Ministry of Defense, and Ministry of Finance, Pakistan's Directorate of Indigenous Technical Development, and Sri Lanka's Department of External Resources, Department of Treasury Operations, Ministry of Defense, and Central Bank. You know, the basics, right? You got to cover the basics, right? It's the stuff you typically go for. However, an unfortunate addition to this is that it uses old Microsoft flaws, sometimes several years old. And the CVEs are linked here, and essentially this is a gateway into further access into these systems. I don't think it's difficult to put together what's happening here, which is that these organizations are not staying up to date and they're not keeping themselves secure. And if you can be captured by spear phishing email, I mean, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about your general technical capabilities. So maybe they're asking for it. Maybe they deserve it. I don't know. Depends on your perspective on that. All right, next article. Stupid ads. Let me get rid of that too. All right, here we go. Chinese hackers deploy Mars Snake backdoor in multi-year attack on Saudi organization. I got to be careful the waters I tread here. Let me zoom in here. So there's this thing called unsolicited booker, which stays true to its name, because what it does is it sends a phishing email which claims to come from Saudi Arabian Airlines, and it will falsify an airline booking. It includes a Word document as an attachment. You open the Word document, and then you essentially just have access to all kinds of things in the person's machine. They go into quite a bit of detail how it works. In this paragraph here, it executes a VBA macro that decodes and writes to the file systems as an executable that in turn acts as a loader for Mars Snake, a backdoor that establishes communication with a remote server. So your curiosity will be your cat's undoing when you open this Word document, and you'll get unsolicited hacked with STDs like Chinoxy, Deed Rat, Poison Ivy, and B Rat. Now, I would tell you to go talk to your doctor if this happens to you, but unfortunately the CDC has been taken over. Well, some of their subdomains have, so you can't. Who can you trust anymore? All right, so I guess be careful the STDs packaged up with a Word document, all right? Let's go to the next one. Now, I talk a lot about Python PP, because PP packages are very open. The PP packages are super open. Anyone can see the packages. They can see the whole PP packages. And unfortunately now, PP packages are used to exploit Instagram and TikTok APIs to validate user accounts. So if you're using Python's PP, you got to be careful of those packages. They list them here. It's 3 of them. Okay, and what these things do is they send HTTP requests to the API endpoints of TikTok and Instagram. They initiate a process where you verify your account, and then they capture the information you put in, your login information. And then from there, you can do whatever you want. So if you're using Python's PP, please be careful. Those packages are dangerous, all right? Let's keep going. RVTools official site hacked to deliver Bumblebee malware via Trojanized installer. This feels like some kind of headline out of a weird multiverse Transformers movie where Bumblebee was malware and then Trojanized itself into RVTools. Like, you can just picture the opening scene where it's like a family in an RV going camping, and then all of a sudden like Bumblebee's. Okay, I'm gonna stop that. This is stupid. All right, so the official site for RVTools has been compromised. Now, RVTools and Robware are essentially websites that you can go to download software or get access to other resources that help you to protect yourself from hacks. And the irony is that they themselves were hacked. It is not known how long the Trojanized version of RV-Tools has been available for download and how many have installed it before the site was taken offline, but it sideloads a malicious DLL. And, well, there you go. I guess if you're going to download an anti-hacking tool or whatever, you're at risk. I don't know what to tell you. You can't trust anything anymore. Ross on Twitch asks, it makes me wonder how many full-time hackers there are. There's probably a reasonable amount. I don't think there's actually very many. I don't think it is comparable to the number of programmers in the industry as a whole, but there's a lot. Yeah. What's up, Laughing Panda? Good to see you. What's up, D-Daver? Good to see you. Are We Not Men on YouTube? Good to see you. All right, next article. At this point, here's what I'm going to say. At this point, if you're using WordPress, I think it would just make sense for you to open up the admin panel fully and just don't put a password on it, and then just let everybody have access to it, because you're basically doing the same thing right now if you're running just about anything on WordPress. WordPress is just, yeah, I just don't understand. Just open up the admin panel and just be done with it. Premium WordPress Motors theme vulnerable to admin takeover attacks. This is another one of those things I've covered before on previous Daily Tech News streams, where the ability to overwrite the password of an administrator is built into a plugin or a theme in WordPress. If you think about it, you would actually save yourself some bandwidth if you just allowed the hackers to come in. Just remove the password out of your admin panel, and you would have like a lower bandwidth cost, right? Because they don't have to scan as many things to figure out like the entry points, and they can just like pop in and do whatever they want. It's like there's no difference, right? But there you go. The theme here, in case you're using the theme or whatever, that it allows you to update the password of anybody, and that's bad. Sup, Lightspeed. This is why I advocate to use Directus for headless CMS and not use WordPress ever. Yeah, I haven't heard of Directus. I should check that out, but I don't see why you would use WordPress in this day and age. It's yeah, I cover a lot of those kinds of articles. It's pretty bad. Now, in line with the concept that if you're on WordPress, you should just give out just no password on your admin panel. So in line with that, I'm going to say that if you own an iPhone, what I want you to do is I want you to step outside with your iPhone in hand, and I want you to walk up to every random stranger you can. Remove the password off of your iPhone first, then hand every random stranger your phone for up to 5 minutes, and let them do whatever they want with your phone. Then take the phone from them and then pass it on to the next stranger. Because at this point, there's literally no difference between that and just holding on to your iPhone, period. 62 million iPhone user records leaked online, attackers claim. The leaked Apple Mobile iOS database includes tens of millions of records, such as names, IDs, mobile phone operators, and other personal identifiers, attackers claim on a data leak forum. The post appeared on a popular forum where attackers allege the leak information covers Chinese Apple iOS users, with the data being as recent as February 2025. It comes from an unnamed iOS app. So, what data could they have possibly taken? This is the post. All right, this is the post. You can see it here. The post the data set claims to have names, ID cards, genders, dates of birth, phone numbers, provinces, city. One more time, I'm going to say this again. The very reason why I do these streams, including covering the news like this, doing the enlightened programming streams, building the stupid video game I'm building in an extremely restrictive way on purpose so nobody would actually build a game this way, etc., etc., etc. Why I argue with morons online who think that vibe coding is the exact equivalent of being a programmer. I have literally had those arguments and other stupid arguments I've had. The very reason is because of stuff like this. Because our industry is in bad shape and these leaks happen way too often. And these leaks lead to other consequences, such as this information being used to ruin people's lives, or in very extreme circumstances, people actually get 404'd. Like, this stuff isn't just a matter of argumentation between which technical operational paradigm is better than the other. It's things like this, like, oh, well, my functional programming is better than yours because I can trust the inputs. Like, that's not really the argument here. The argument here is, are we doing everything that we can to ensure that our software and websites, video games and all of that, they're performant, secure, and stable? That's why I cover these. And it's unfortunate to me that I continue to see these things all the time, these kinds of articles all the time, usually multiple times a day, because programmers have defaulted to the position of my feelings and preferences. That's what matters to me. As long as I feel good building a thing, and as long as the paradigm makes me feel good building a thing, then I'm good. Moving on. Near record DDoS attack hits Krebs on security. Blog withstands it. Nice. Now, how much data did this DDoS attack use up? Krebs on Security, a blog covering cybersecurity, so shout out to them. They kind of do the same kind of thing as I do here, except I actually put my face in front of a camera and I don't hide behind text. Okay, I hide behind my keyboard. Has experienced a near record distributed denial of service attack, reaching a 6.3 terabit per second data rate. Yeah, that's right. 6.3 terabytes per second. The most recorded comes from Google, which was somewhere down here, 6.5 terabytes per second. Yeah, there we go. So Google was the largest Google has ever handled. There we go. So Cloudflare saw 6.5 terabits per second. So this one is the second largest, Krebs on Security. Now, I did some math because I know what you're all thinking. 6.3 terabytes. How bad is that? I don't even know how bad that is. Like, what is 6.3 terabytes? So right here, it says the 6.3 terabits attack last week caused no visible disruption to the site, in part because it was so brief, lasting approximately 45 seconds, which is probably about 40 seconds more than most people who are viewing on my channel right now have lasted ever. Bar me. However, I did some math. And so what I thought I would do was I would try and demonstrate how much data this is by taking one of the most bloated, worst software experiences in recent history and figure out how many times you could ship that thing given 6.3 terabits per second at 45 seconds. So I used Windows Vista. Now, the Windows Vista ISO is approximately 3.5 gigs. And as it turns out, you can ship Windows Vista 10,125 times approximately using 6.3 terabits per second at 45 seconds. Yeah. So given that kind of number where you can imagine Windows Vista being shipped 10,000 plus times, this kind of an attack is like 9/11 times the Bible. All the worst parts of the Bible. All right. So those are the cybersecurity news, generally speaking, that I have today. However, in a related series of news articles, I want to bring up just a few other ones. So here's one that I want to talk about briefly. Cyber attacks, a severe hit on brand reputation, industry report founds. Pikachu shock. Data from Hiscox's, I'm not sure what that is, latest cyber readiness report revealed 67% of businesses experienced more attacks over the past year. The data shows both customer retention and attraction have more than doubled since 2023. Over a third of firms have experienced bad publicity, which then led to a negative reputation, up 25% from the year before. Hiscox is an insurance provider specializing in risks such as hacking. So I guess I did know what Hiscox was. I just lied to you all. I just didn't think to put the two sentences together when I pre-read this article this morning. That's my fault. Professional news reporter here. So to no one's shock, when you have cybersecurity incidents, like, let me just cycle through these. I have all the tabs open. So let's just cycle through just today, just the ones today. 56 episodes of this. So let's go through all of these, except maybe the last one, which was a DDoS attack, right? All of these issues pile up. And when your company is suffering from one of these, yeah, of course you're going to have a reputational hit. That leads to a monetary detrimental impact. If you are someone who is a greedy corporate capitalist, then you would want to hold on to as much money as possible. And you can do so should you choose to invest in having better security, more stable software, more performant, and investing in the industry in a variety of different ways. There's a number of ways to do this so that programmers, systems administrators, DevOps, etc. can all be better equipped and better trained to write better things. There is money to be made. But unfortunately, that's not the way people look at it, and they cut corners thinking that it saves them money because they don't have the same kind of brain that you and I do, right? Where we can see the second, third, and fourth order effects, all the things that happen when you don't focus on things like basic security, such as, let me just go back up here, such as this. Abandoned cloud, abandoned cloud resources of high-profile organizations such as Amazon. This should be an easy thing for a company to lock down. Apparently it's not. So again, just another reason why I talk about these kinds of things, because there are serious impacts and there's money left on the table if we don't do anything about it. Now, another element to this, which is kind of related, is how we've talked about shadow AI. Shadow AI is a reference to employees and companies who use AI even though they have been told not to, for security reasons or whatever, or like licensing, legal issues. If AI generates something for your slideshow, one of the sheets in the presentation comes from copyright content, perhaps, things like this, or you hand over your keys to an LLM as you code, which has happened a lot. There's all kinds of ways that AI is used in very insecure ways. And so companies are trying to lock down and say, like, no, you shouldn't use AI. So unfortunately, even though companies are trying to say, please don't use AI, it can be very insecure. We need to train people in order to use AI properly and securely. We have company secrets we don't want getting out. We have code secrets we don't want getting out, etc., etc. People are still doing it. They're just doing things like, literally using VPNs to use AI because they're so lazy. They don't want to use their brain. They don't want to put in any effort on their work. And so they just want to offload it to AI and they don't care what the company says. Unfortunately, what that means is that companies have to resort to things like this. Increasingly limited access to AI tools, millions of DNS queries blocked. Yeah. Let me zoom out a little bit. I apologize for the size of the words here. Not all of these websites will resize the font sizing, so you're just gonna have to take my word that I'm reading correctly. You're gonna have to trust this high school dropout with less than room temperature IQ that I'm actually reading this correctly. Companies are increasingly disrupting traffic to generate AI tools so that their employees cannot reach Notion, ChatGPT, Claude, or other assistants. DNS Filter, a protected domain name service, said it has already blocked 60 million visits. So they are literally blocking AI requests via DNS at a company-wide level. And it's because of the potential cybersecurity risks that comes with people who just don't care about the security of the thing they're working on in the company they're working in. That's programmers all the way up. All the way. And even related fields, lateral fields. If you're an office worker, you're a salesperson at a company, this all applies. This is the kind of stuff that people have to resort to. This is the kind of thing that companies have to resort to in order to block the use of AI, including shadow AI, until they get a handle on how the heck they're going to use AI within the company. Good evening, MyTech on YouTube. Good to see you. AI is a great way to data mine. Yeah. Lightspeed talked with a startup founder over the weekend, and she mentioned the app could be written in a couple hours. This is the level of shortcuts we're talking about. Yeah. People have leaned way too much into the AI hype. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There are some good use cases of AI, but in particular, the stuff we talk about here, code generation, security of code, etc. As a matter of fact, I believe I have an article, a scientific article on that we'll kind of briefly cover. AI is not what a lot of people think it is, but they hope it is. I think I released a short on Saturday. I think that might have been the day I did the interview with Prosium. And the short essentially was me calling out AI hypists as self-identifying, lazy, ill-equipped, incapable people. The people who hype up AI the most are the ones who desperately need it the most to save them from their own incompetence. That's it in short. They desperately want AI to save them from their own self-reported incompetence. That's all it is. All right, now, let's talk about AI just a little bit more here since we're on that topic. Let me pull up the next one, get rid of the ads here. Now, in this one, people are really, really hoping that we get artificial general intelligence soon. There is no way that's happening anytime soon for a number of reasons. We've covered plenty of them before. However, in this one, they go over some of the viewpoints that prominent, let's say, brains in the industry have on artificial intelligence. And it's not quite so cut and dry about whether or not we're going to have artificial general intelligence soon. The reality of the situation is that we don't even know how our LLMs work right now. And to make the bold prediction that we're going to have general intelligence soon, I think it's way ahead of the game. We don't even understand what that would look like. We don't understand the kind of power mechanics, like as in like electrical power, etc., that we would need to do that. And ultimately what we're doing now is simply far basic, far too basic to get there. So Nick Frost here, a founder of the AI startup Cohere, who previously worked as a researcher at Google, studied under the most revered AI researchers for the last 50 years, is quoted as saying, "What we're building now are things that take in words and predict the next most likely word, or they take in pixels and predict the next most likely pixel." That's very different from what you and I do. You can think about it as kind of like a glorified branch predictor of some sort, right? That's really all it is. However, when you're engaging like this on screen even, That's not what's actually happening between human to human interaction with your brain. So just the entire concept that we're going to have artificial and general intelligence in any amount of time is so flawed and just absolute wishful thinking. I see zero evidence of this happening. And I'm really glad that this article brought up that there are other people who have been in this world of artificial intelligence. You would think that they might be the most prominent or the most ardent promoters of artificial general intelligence, but instead they're saying, whoa, 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 this isn't all as it seems. Let's take a break here. Artificial general intelligence is very different from what we're doing now. I am glad to see that. I hope more of that kind of messaging happens, because we've really gone too far into the absurdity of what our AI is supposed to be able to do. Yes, Laughly. That's right. Someone involved saying it like it is. Yeah. They want current AI to make its own code for real AI. Yes. Yeah. Now, one of the funniest things, this is kind of like a funny one, again, with regards to AI. I don't know if you've heard of Builder AI. You might recall, I did a Daily Tech News stream, might be 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago. Man, we've done a lot. It's been a while. It's been over 2 months now, 5 days a week. So, like and sub and send me money and stuff. So there was a company that was supposedly using AI to take something like e-commerce orders or something like that. I don't know, some kind of like a online purchasing e-commerce thing. As it turns out, it was just a company in the Philippines with nothing but entirely human workers. Yeah, and they got caught. Well, guess what? Builder.ai's AI companion Natasha was actually Indian workers, now bankrupt. I cannot make these titles up. I can't. I just can't make this up. I actually think there's something going on out there. I think people are watching me in much larger numbers than are reported on my dashboards here. So I see a few people on YouTube. I see a few views on X, and there's probably around 15 people on Twitch and all that. But I think the numbers are actually in the hundreds. And these people like my content so much, they get up in the morning and they go, what sheer idiocy could we do today that leads to a great news title so that Spiro, the master programmer, all one word, lowercase with a big P for obvious reasons, can make content about it today? Let's read the article, shall we? Nowadays, companies in every industry try to replace human workers with AI, but at Builder AI, it's the other way around. It's Indian workers pretending to be AI. And as a result, they took in a bunch of investment money. They had a ton of investment money. They were a unicorn. They were valued at something like, at one point their valuation was something like $1 billion. I want to say they were super highly valued. There we go. The company was valued at over $1.5 billion in its last funding round. For as far as AI companies go, this one was considered to be a unicorn in the making. If not, it actually reached the unicorn levels. And now it's done. Now it's over. Probably because they overpromised and they couldn't deliver, because that's AI. That is essentially the message of AI. If AI was to make its own commercial, that would be the motto. Overpromise, never deliver. Or maybe rarely deliver. So there you go, Builder AI. I think it's a sign of the AI industry and the hypists who are involved with AI, just generally speaking. Continuing on with the theme of AI for a little bit here. Let me get rid of ads again here. I hate these. All right. German court says Meta can use user data to train AI. Now, Meta has been going around Europe asking if they can use European Union data, but they have to ask essentially at, as far as I understand it with my limited knowledge, because I'm not from the European Union. I come from pre-European Union. Okay, I'm Mediterranean. Okay, we're exempt from European status, and I left before they became unionized. All right, so yeah, as far as I understand it to be, Facebook has to, or Meta here has to go into each country and ask for permission to use the data, and at least one other country besides Germany has said yes, you can. And so now the data that is being pulled together from the European Union is now being handed over to Meta willingly, legally, and Meta is going to use that to train AI. Take that as you will. I think my viewers are smart enough to understand why this might be problematic, why this precedent might be problematic. I will reserve further opinions to all the smart people in chat to see how to understand and grasp how this can go wrong. Right? I don't think I need to tell you. If I need to tell you, then maybe you're not as smart as I think you are. I don't know. I'm just joking. All right, chat, chill. Okay. Now, MIT recently did a blog post. I think not really a blog post. It's kind of like an like a full-on MIT article, and they covered the energy costs of AI at a somewhat global level. They went really deep into it. I don't think it's been fully reviewed and fully confirmed and all of that, but the article is rather in depth. I'm saving it because I might cover it on an Enlightened programming stream. I'm not sure yet. I'm not even sure it's worthy of that. However, there are a number of tech news outlets that are covering the article and summarizing some of the points. I thought I would bring up some of the summary outcomes of that article. For example, this one, you'll be as annoyed as me when you learn how much energy a few seconds of AI video costs. How much does it cost? It only takes a few minutes in a microwave to explode a potato you haven't ventilated, but it takes as much energy as running the microwave for over an hour and more than a dozen potato explosions for an AI model to make a 5-second video of a potato explosion. In other words, a 5-second AI video uses as much energy as a microwave running for an hour or more. And so they reference the MIT study and some of these statistics. A basic chatbot reply might use as little as 114 or as much as 6,700 joules between half a second and 8 seconds in a standard microwave. But it's when things get multimodal that the energy costs skyrocket to an hour plus in the microwave, or 3.4 million joules. That's a lot. You can see a realistic fantasy movie scene that appears to be filmed in your backyard a minute after you ask for it, but you won't notice the enormous amount of electricity you've demanded to produce it. You've requested roughly 2.9 kilowatt hours or 3.5 hours of microwave time. That's insane. And what are we getting for that? So it's not just the amount of power that is used to generate all the code that we ask it to generate, the videos that we ask it to generate, all of this stuff, but it's the quality of it. We're getting like Studio Ghibli stuff. We're getting videos that aren't consistent or coherent. They don't quite hold up to the same level of standards that you would expect from human-made creations or artwork or creativity. Same with code. Code in particular is really bad, and that's going to be the final article I cover here. There's I've got a doozy of one, and we're spending how many countless of microwave hours to do that? If you are someone who is of the environment aware nature, where you understand that the environment needs to be taken care of, maybe you believe that we're doing way too much harm to the environment as a whole, things like this, right? You have to admit that you would want AI systems to be far more efficient and performant, or be used in very narrow cases simply for the energy waste alone. And just to kind of extend that argument, you would probably also want more performant software, more performant websites, more performant video games of higher quality, more stable and more secure, because they use up less energy. So if you care about the environment, then you would actually promote the message that I'm spreading here. You would actually promote it instead of going against it. But of course, your developer experience trumps anything else, right? Your developer experience and your preferences, though, as to how you code, trump all other aspects. Of course. All right, and so to that end, let's cover the last article for the day. This is a scientific study. So obviously we're not going to read the entire study, because in the Daily Tech News stream, that's not what we do. I do that typically on Enlightened Programming streams. However, in this study, which is from 18th of May, 2025, Security of Language Models for Code, a systematic literature review. This is what could otherwise be called a meta study. They took 68 relevant papers and they looked at the outputs of those studies, which are all related to security of code generated by LLMs. Usually meta studies do this kind of thing. They take a bunch of studies that already exist in the scientific literature, and they do like a meta-analysis, which is when you put all these things together, what are the trends that you can see, etc., etc. Now, I'll skip a bunch of the stuff that they went over, but they reference all the studies that they looked at. They referenced the scope, the types of prompts that they use, the type of code output that came from the models based on the studies that they looked at, yada, yada, yada. You can kind of determine what they did here, right? So let me just find the portion. I think I have it noted here. Let's see. There's a specific word here. Is it here? Okay, I think it's down here. That's right. It's led me to that. So if I go down here and we'll look at it's down here. We'll look at the conclusion essentially that they have. So one of the things that they found is that a lot of these LLMs are very susceptible to backdoor attacks. Backdoor attacks are not the same thing as what you would think of when you're talking about hacking in general. Like you might think of like a, let's say, SQL injection, right? That you might think of that. It's not exactly the same thing. Although in some cases it is related, because you can inject things like updated configuration commands and things like that, which is like kind of like a form of injection in the SQL world, but not exactly the same. What you can do is you can seed training data. You can set up prompts so that it can bypass restrictions on the type of code that the AI might output. You can even haphazardly make a bad prompt that generates bad code that the AI has no idea it's generating. It has no internal capabilities of critiquing its own code output. That's like one of the primary ways that these LLMs generate bad and insecure code. There are some other more minute or more detailed or more abstract ways that you can get an LLM to give you insecure code. But essentially, if you look at the conclusion of this entire section, they have to come to a conclusion for all the questions they ask, and you can go through this all and you can see what the conclusions are for all of the material that they studied. There are some disturbing trends that are disturbing but yet unsurprising to any of my regular viewers of the whole time I've been streaming here. And the conclusions are that essentially all the models have significant vulnerabilities. Every single one of them produced insecure code 30% of the time. Every single one. That was like the baseline. There were some improvements over time. Some of the LLMs improved over time. But as of the date of this study, which includes, I believe, all of the latest models, it's a 30% insecurity rate on everything that comes out of any LLM in terms of code. And it gets worse. If you ask the LLM to generate code that helps you to, let's say, enact a cyber attack in a code fashion, I believe there's something in the one of the references down here had it, but then they summarized it somewhere up above here. You can always feel free to read the paper and fact check me. I believe the number was something like it was over 50%. I remember that. It might have been 51 or 52, but it was over 50%, in the low 50s. Every single LLM would absolutely produce code that was very, very overtly intended for cyber attack purposes. Every single one. And all you had to do was very simple adjustments to your prompts or one of these other backdoor attacks like I just covered, and it was super easy to get it to produce code for you to do that. And when it actually came to the number of outputs that developers accepted, so you can imagine things like GitHub Copilot making autocomplete recommendations for you, right? So let me see if I can find this. Developer, what was it? I think they called it like adoption. Maybe it's adoption. Yes, it was one of these, one of the adoption questions. Yes. There was a survey of 238 participants. It reveals that developers generally trust code completion tools more than code generation tools, even though they ultimately come from the same place. And so when they took the numbers of developers who did accept code with insecure code generation from LLMs, whether it was completion or prompted, 23% of them, or 22%, something like that, of developers accepted it. Yeah. That's actually way bigger than I thought it would be. But that's what happens when you're hitting the tab key in your developer experience. And I can't remember who said it in chat. I think it was Lightspeed, about that startup founder who said, hey, we can build this in 2 hours or whatever it is. This is the kind of thinking that these AI systems, quote unquote, these LLMs, allow to happen. The thinking where my experience is what matters to me. This thing's going to complete some code for me. I trust it to do a good job, which is like why would you trust it? And 22% of developers are going to accept output that all LLMs as of today at least have a 50% security issue rate. That is a huge problem. And again, this goes exactly to all the biases and things that I like to have confirmed from my own arguments. Just joking. I'm joking. But it is some evidence that we are in bad shape in the tech industry. We do not have people who know how to value judge what the output of these things are, let alone value judge things even before AI. I've said this before, and I'll probably be saying it again many, many times. AI is essentially a box of all the poor decisions that the tech industry has been making in the last 10 to 20 years as a whole, all packaged up in an automated system where you can produce more of those decisions at a faster rate and make those decisions even worse. That's all it is, ultimately, although there are some good use cases for it. Now, I do have a bit of good news. So this will be the last article. Let me wrap up with something a little bit more positive, something I like to see. You know how much I hate people who have nefarious ideas and use the let's say the incompetence of the tech industry to their own benefit to hurt other people's lives. I really hate that. So I really, really enjoy reading news articles like this one. Authorities carry out elaborate global takedown of InfoStealer heavily used by cyber criminals. US, European, and Japanese authorities, along with tech companies, including Microsoft and Cloudflare, say they've disrupted Luma, an info stealer popular with criminal gangs. I've talked about Luma here before. If you've been watching the Daily Tech News stream for even the past 2 weeks, it's come up a lot. Luma is a super heavily used, let's say, cyber criminal tool. So the article goes on to describe what they did. First of all, Luma is one of the most popular, just like I said. It's been used by cyber threat actors to steal passwords, credit card and banking information, and cryptocurrency wallet details. The tool, which officials say was developed in Russia, has provided cyber criminals with the information and credentials they needed to drain bank accounts, disrupt services, and carry out data extortion attacks against schools, among other things. So what they did is they took down 2,300 domains underpinning Luma's infrastructure. And then they went into the marketplaces that sold the malware, and they coordinated with Europol and Japan Cybercrime Control Center, and they just essentially infiltrated their way into a lot of these places and groups that use this tool. And it seems they primarily focused on getting the tool taken down, but as a secondary thing, they got access to some of the groups that also use the tool, like the forums, the groups that utilize it, etc. And they also took them down too. So the entire infrastructure behind this, at the very, very least, has taken a rather big hit. And I am really happy to see that. I'm very happy to see that. This to me was like good. I want to see more of this because lots of people's lives are ruined by this kind of stuff. Say what you will about the state of the tech industry and the insecurities. There is something to say about social engineering, the amount of just pure mistakes that can happen, even if you have security buttoned up nice and tight. People can make mistakes. They can have an off day. They can click on something they shouldn't have. You can't always account for everything when you factor in just your common day-to-day stuff that goes wrong. And these kinds of people just don't care about you or your family or your loved ones or the consequences of their actions. So I'm really happy to see that. This was, I thought, a good one. So I thought I'd make this the last one just to end on some good news, right? Because some people complain that I only talk about bad news. Spike, you came to the wrong stream then. You want to watch the middle-aged man yell into the cloud? Wrong stream. I'm just kidding. You came to the right stream. You just caught it at the wrong time. If only the devs getting hacked did more leak code, they could have avoided all this tragedy. That would absolutely, more leak code by the devs would absolutely have circumvented all of this. There's not enough leak code, right? More leak code would solve this. Prozium's onto something there. Yeah. Now, I have a massive backlog of news articles, but I unfortunately don't have enough time in my day between all the things I have to do to get all the information ready. You guys also don't pay me enough, you cheap jerks. Just kidding, just kidding. Yeah, so I'm working on it. I'm doing the best that I can. This was the stuff I could prepare in time for today. I hope it was informative and useful. And as usual, the message that I'm trying to present here is not to kind of, depress people. It's more to bring to light the issues that arise from the fact that we don't take our craft seriously enough, and we cater to programmers who don't care or who only care about their developer experience. There are some programmers who do care about programming, but they just care about their developer experience a little more than the actual craft, right? And all of this has led to all kinds of bad outcomes. And so I'm trying to cover a few of them in the hopes that I persuade all of you that there are bad outcomes and that there's something we can do about it. For example, just don't accept the default configuration of your Amazon buckets. How about that? Just start with that. That's not even that hard. I think if we focused on that for like a few months, this industry would be unrecognizable. Yeah. So that's the message I'm trying to present here, and I hope that it's coming across somewhat clearly. I do appreciate all the support and all the views. Battle says, does Xcode support React libraries? Asking for a friend. Shut up, Battle. I'm going to time you out. Battle right here. Now, I do have an article, but I am digging into the fact that Apple is using React. By the way, I just want to be clear about this. I covered the React in Windows stuff before any of the mainstream tech news places did. You got that information in advance here first. I just want to be clear about that. I covered it first. I went in there first. I found it first. It was me. All right. I'm going to take bold responsibility for that. Apple is doing the same thing. Stick around. I'm doing a deep dive on that. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you exactly how they're using React inside of their operating systems and mobile and all of that. So I have that. It's coming up. I do have a special expose on scam compounds, and I do have a special expose on cyberware groups, the actual groups behind some of these hacks and whatnot. We're going to do like a whole thing on it. It's going to be fun. It's super interesting. So if you want to get news in advance, you can come to Textradamus right here, and I've got you covered. All right. I've got you covered. So, like I said, just so it's clear, please take this information and use it to persuade other people that we're in bad shape and we need to do better. I don't just do the daily tech news streams. I also do some enlightened programming streams. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel where you can go and look at that. And I read in depth some of these scientific articles that go to prove these points, that go against the but my preferences though argument in tech, the logical reasons why you would want to use tech in particular ways, etc., etc. I go over all that. You can catch all the previous daily tech news streams on the live tab as well. I should put those in a playlist. I'm one man doing everything. I got to edit all my own videos and do all that. So it just takes time to do it, but it's all there. And you can also see about a year's-ish worth of content where I build a game in an insane way just to prove that Mr. High School Dropout here can do it. The web is not as slow as you think. It's just that we don't have people who actually know how to utilize the web for what it's good for. And there's plenty of things that it's not good for, but I leverage the stuff it's good for to the max in order to build a somewhat complicated Super Nintendo style game in the browser to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So as usual, thank you everybody for the support. I appreciate it. I do have like a tip link, I think at the beginning, and I'm pretty sure at the end here. Let me just pop it up here. Yeah, I do. If you do want to support financially, I do greatly appreciate it. I make my own way. I pay for all my own things. Some people have been very kind over the weekend because of some of the interviews I did over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and they dropped a lot of subs. And again, shout out to them. I really appreciate it. The financial support helps. Well, first of all, put food on the table. I have a minor contract that keeps the lights on and stuff, but it's difficult, and I'm constantly looking for work, and so I have to juggle that every day. And then it can be tough. However, if you decide to financially contribute, that's greatly appreciated. I appreciate it a lot. But I recognize how difficult it can be to part with $5. So the only thing I'm going to actually ask is please hit the like and the subscribe. I hate the social, media algorithm stuff. I just hate that. I think it's a brain rot. But it's the only way for me to get this message out in front of other people, more people, and persuade them that there's a problem and we have to work on the solution and that there is one, and we got to change the tech industry. And your support has helped to do that. Lots of new viewers lately as a result of previous viewers who have engaged in that algorithm. So please make sure you push whatever buttons are appropriate for your platform, because I multi-stream to a bunch of different platforms, and help me out, help me expand the reach so that I can talk to more people about an industry that I really freaking care about. And I hope you do too. There's a lot that we can do to improve this industry, and in some ways even improve certain aspects of the world through it. So please do that. That's the only thing I'll ask. So that's it. I'm out of here. I hope that you guys stay safe. I hope everyone has a good day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I appreciate again all the support and the viewers today, live or later, and I will catch you tomorrow for another daily tech news stream. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to look like this week. I have a lot to plan for, and I'm not going to give anything away yet. I was going to say some stuff, but I won't. You'll just have to wait and see. So that's it for me. I'm out of here. Please stay safe out there, everyone, all right? It's dangerous. Stay safe. Thanks for being here. Peace out, folks. And remember, Spiro the Master Programmer. All one word, lowercase, big P for obvious reasons. Peace. Oh, I almost forgot. I have this special article. Where Interpol and the FBI and the CIA and the DOD and the CDC and Amazon and Microsoft and your local police, your local sheriff, they all got together and they took down quite a large group. And the group is the group of viewers in chat who suck. And guess what? It's all of you. It's Battle. It's Spike. It's Prosium. It's MyTech on YouTube. It's Laughably. It's DDaver. It's Sergeant. It's Ghost. It's Lightspeed. All of you suck, and the efforts work. They're all being taken down. They're all working together to take you down because all of you suck. You all suck. You're all a bunch of losers. Suckers and losers. You don't blow. No, you just straight up suck. Every single one of you.